A scam is a fraudulent or deceptive act. We are all sold this lie that we need to go to college if we want to have a job or if we want to have a successful life. I've seen all these lists of like top 10 colleges to go to if you want to find a good job and have a successful life, implying that if you don't go to these colleges, you're not going to have a successful life. And I want to tell you why that is frankly not true and why college is a scam. Now, before you get all mad at me and yell at me in the comments saying, no, college is a scam, you need to go to college. Well, over 50% of the jobs in the US do not require a college degree. And 41% of people that go to college end up dropping out and then have residual debt from the time that they spent at college. So they have no degree that'll maybe help them get a job. And then they also have debt because they went and did that. Lots of people are going to get degrees in like human resources, social science, and communications. And a lot of these people, that's the only degree they get. And then they don't even end up using it in their job. So they went to school, spent this time and a ton of this money, possibly graduate with debt, and then now you can't even use that degree because that degree by itself isn't really worth much. A lot of companies are starting to go back to what they used to do and hire people that don't have degrees, but hire you based on whether you can do the job or not. When my grandfather was in his 20s, he could walk up and pretty much get any job. He had a job for the majority of his life and he didn't get a degree for it. He had on-the-job training, and that's how it worked. For that same job, if I wanted to go get that job today, I would have to go do 4 years of college to get that exact same job. When he was in his 20s, he didn't have to have a degree to get all of these jobs. And then they changed it to where, no, you have to have a degree. And now a lot of the companies are moving back and saying, actually, we'd rather hire people that don't have degrees. And the companies that are now hiring people that don't have degrees at very high levels are Walmart, and even at the corporate level, Walmart is hiring people that don't have degrees. Koch Industries, Georgia Pacific Railroad, Tesla, Apple, IBM, all these people, they are now starting to hire people and prefer people that do not have degrees. Now, why those companies are choosing to hire people that do not have degrees versus people over with degrees, maybe a few reasons. One of them is people coming fresh out of college now have the highest problems with HR ever, historically. The people coming out of college are always in trouble with HR, which is interesting. But the people who didn't go to college, they don't have the problems with HR. They aren't constantly having to see HR. And a bunch of other places to do with workplace, that's really a topic for another video. I am not saying that nobody ever needs a degree or nobody ever needs to go to college. Obviously, some jobs you actually have to have a degree. Teachers, I think it's sad. But now, if you want to become a teacher, you have to have the degree. You have to have the piece of paper, which I think is quite frankly ridiculous. I have learned a lot of people who are experts in their field, and they don't technically have a teaching degree, so they can't teach in a traditional school, but they are experts in their field. But you have to have that piece of paper. But a couple other things like nurses, engineers, and doctors, those things all need degrees. But a lot of the jobs that we have, you don't need degrees. Another lie we're told is, well, yes, you can get a job without a degree, but it won't be a good job. You're going to be barely scraping by. You're not going to be able to make very much money unless you have a degree. And that's a lie too. One of the stereotypes is that doctors make a ton of money, and they do make quite a bit of money. But if you compare a plumber to a doctor, the plumber wins every single time. And here's why. With a plumber, you go to a trade school, probably a 2-year trade school. You get that, you do your apprenticeship. So you spend 2 years of school that are very cheap. Now, depending on the state, it's more expensive or not. Where I used to live in Washington State, it would have cost me about $45,000 to go to a 2-year trade school. Here in Arkansas, it's a lot cheaper, so it depends on where you go. But let's look at the doctor side. The doctor, you have to spend about 8 years of schooling to get your doctorate. I know somebody that went and got their doctorate, and by the time they graduated, they had over $200,000 in debt. Now compare that to the plumber. You spent 2 years of your life, graduated with probably no debt, and then compared to the doctor, you have spent 8 years of your life, and then now you have $200,000 in debt. So our plumber here has a 6-year advantage on our doctor, where they're going to be making money and the doctor is just accumulating more debt. Now, one of the things, in my opinion, that you can do during those 6 years is get married. A lot of people don't want to get married until they have their career kind of sorted out, and I can understand that sentiment. But at the same time, if you're a doctor and you have to wait 8 years, let's just say you started going to school when you were 19, you graduate, and now you are 27 after 8 years of college. Now, whether you want to admit it or not, once you're 27, there's a lot less options than if you're, 21. you have all that time to, number one, get married, and then two, you get to start making money. Whereas that doctor, he still is racking up debt. And student loan debt is pretty much one of the worst debts you can possibly get. You can't ever default on it. You can't go bankrupt on it. You just kind of have it for life and you're stuck with it. Also, if you're a plumber, you can start your own plumbing business. I know a bunch of plumbers and they make a ton of money and they are always booked. They're always having people being like, hey, please come fix my toilet. Electricians are making $30 an hour. Plumbers are making $30 an hour. HVAC technicians are making about $27 an hour. And a bunch of the other trades make good money as well, like welding and linemen. Although, personally, I wouldn't recommend welding or linemen. Welding, you're breathing in tons of heavy metals. And a lot of the people who do welding get, heavy metal poisoning as well as beryllium poisoning. And beryllium is crazy toxic and it makes you die pretty quick. And then lineman is the most dangerous trade, has the most deaths. So I would just stay away from that just because of that, but it does make good money. I know some electricians and plumbers and stuff that just go work big commercial jobs and they only work 6 months out of the year because they go work like 2 big jobs for the year and then they made all the money that they need for that entire year in 6 months. Also, if you work outages, if they have a big hurricane or storm or something that knocks down a building and they need the electrical redone for that building, they need electricians to come in, they need plumbers to come in, whatever trade you are in, they need those people to come in and do this work. And then you get paid a ridiculous amount because you have to be flown in from outside or driven in from outside to go work on that. So you get paid a ton of money. For every 5 people that are retiring out of all the trades, only 2 people are coming to replace them. Which means that you have a crazy gap where they need people. I know tons of plumbers, electricians and stuff that are looking for people. They need people because there's not enough people in the workforce in these trades. Now, some people in the older generation, when you tell them you don't want to go to college and you want to go be a plumber, they might look at you funny. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. You can go and you can go to college, spend 4 years, get a degree that you may or may not use, or I guess you can go become a doctor, spend 8 years of your life, rack up a bunch of debt, and then I guess you have a pretty good job when you get out of it. Or you can go become a plumber, go become an electrician, be an HVAC technician, spend 2 years of your life going to trade school, and then when you're at the end of it, you got a good job. And there's lots of room for expandability. You can work that job anywhere and everywhere. Nowhere has really too many plumbers. Nowhere has too many HVAC technicians. And you can get that job anywhere. So if you have to move, you still have a job pretty much wherever you're going to go because they're pretty much always needing these trades. You can work outages and make a ton more money. And you have 6 years on that doctor. I think college is one of the biggest wastes of time and money that we can spend our younger years doing. So this decision's ultimately up to you. And you get to make that decision. If you like this video, consider checking the one out up here. But other than that, I'll see y'all later.